From reading the 1913 guidebook, we're currently now standing in the Squire's room. Now, as we were talking earlier, the wall that's in here, which is the partition wall between the two, has been added in later, and it would have been one big master bedroom. So the white room next door would have actually been part of this. We also touched on earlier where the top of the bed is on the left-hand side of the door to the priest hole. That's where that would have had the larger window, and that would have been quite a substantial window. If you look at images of it, you can see where it's drawn on those images. Going on to the door, so the door itself here, I'm going to move these stands out the way so we can actually close it up. In 1913, in the guidebook, it speaks of a spring-hinged door. This is it. The spring hinge isn't here anymore, but essentially a spring hinge is kind of a bit like, once again, we're talking about modern kitchens, but it's a bit like that kind of, your magnetic door of pressing it and then it opens up, which is, for example, another layer of disguise. If you were to not know this property and you come in and you look at this door that's panelled and it kind of blends in, yes, you can see hinges, but on a quick glance, you're not gonna, it's gonna be like, okay, what's behind there? You'd press that, it would spring hinge open, and then that is just your garderobe, sir. Nothing more entertaining other than the toilet. When we look into the priest hole now, and I'm always dubious with calling this one a priest hole, because a priest hole for me kind of suggests that it's a kind of a bottom space that's fully hidden in, etc. And that's what it's dressed up as now. But the floorboards on there aren't that old. They've been added in. There are older floorboards underneath that, which have probably been put in by the Evans family of the Victorians. And that is to make it look like, oh, it's a bottom priest hole. This is one of those hiding spaces. It's great for tourism.
It's romantic again.
It's romantic. However, if we go to kind of what we know about the property, we know we've got a garderobe here. We know that we've also got the door at the bottom of the chimney shaft, and this was a direct escape route out of the property. So once again, it's a hidden space, but it's that kind of idea that it's a way of cleaning the earthworks, it said. Anyone coming along, and there's always a set pattern of what we're going to tell them it is and why we've got that staircase there. And yeah, essentially an escape route getting out. What is amazing though as well is the window, this little window on the left hand side, which is the only one that's got glass in now. That window, if you can imagine standing there and literally being in a case where you're like, you are being hunted, you need to get out of the property, you can look out of there and you can see quite a far distance. You can see one, who's at the bottom of that door, 2, into the gardens, and before you know it, you've gone down the nut walk or the woodland walk out of the property into the woodland. So once again, you're kind of able to see, before you risk yourself, you're able to see is there any danger directly in front of that door, anyone waiting before you can get out. And we know that window is there in 1624. Yes, it would have added light into the garderobe, and you want a lit space in there, but once again, you've got a little window to kind of look out and see what danger's about. When you go into the section now, so I'm actually standing inside and I'm next to the priest hole itself. Above us, we've got a few things going on. One, we've got a shelf on the left hand side. By the way, my back is towards the window right now. So on the left hand side, I can see a little shelf. I can see also panelling, but at the back of that panelling is a kind of a recess. Now, the panelling in here has been added in later. Originally in 1624, I could imagine this panelling not being here with the coat hook in front of it. At the back of there, that little recess, you'd have probably had a candle. It's a garderobe, it's a toilet space. We've got no natural light, we're going to have a little light in there. However, when you then look, and I'm now facing where Tim's standing in the doorway, and on the left hand side, we've got another recess, a much bigger recess. Maybe you could keep your toilet roll there, but it's one of those ones where that is a little space where you could add something else in there. However, got a little bit of a theory. Above us, where the ceiling is the attic. Now, there is scraps of information that suggest there is a way of getting from the attic into the chimney breast and out of the property. So, when you go to Harvington Hall, if you look up some of their hiding places, which are in kind of the chimney breast and stuff like that, you can actually see little jut outs where you put your feet. Do these have a dual purpose? These recesses, yes, they're for candles, for hiding things, but I could quite easily put my foot into that recess, that first one, and then onto the next one, and then actually be through the space, through the trapdoor we've got, and onto those little bits of steps that were said to be there, and then you're out of the property. Below us here, we've got obviously the pre-stole itself. There'd have been what it was said to be a couple of crude steps, and that would have just been a kind of maybe even just a little ladder going down from here to the door outside. Above us, though, we wouldn't have had any steps or anything like that. It is literally, you are essentially climbing potentially down from, a way of lifting a hatch above the top or something above there.
So it's a shaft.
It's a shaft more than anything. And the difficult thing is because above our heads, we've got that, what I refer to as a bit of a monstrosity, brick monstrosity of a Victorian fireplace. And it's all higgledy-piggledy and juts out. That's not like that in 1624. So what's that looking like? Was there a way? Is there a truth to those elements of scraps of history that was a way of getting through there discreetly and then putting your feet into those footholes that we can see and then out of the property? Once again, it's scraps of information. It may have some truth, it may not, but it's, like I said, if you go to Harbington and you see these uses and repurposes of something that looks like something, but also you can use it for something else. Who knows?
So it could potentially take you from all the different levels of the house, really.
Yeah, this itself, in theory, if that is correct, I'd have been then able to get secretly from the attic, where you've got that pre-stole, through here, put your feet into those recesses, get down through the hatch, get down that little staircase or those little steps or the ladder or whatever was there, and then out into the woodland and outside.
And all disguised as a toilet.
Yeah.